Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining our weekly podcast. I'm Robin Lewis, founder and CEO of the Robin Report. And by the way, for all of those of you on YouTube, the cap is not necessarily for rooting for any team. Rather, it is a cover for a little bit of minor surgery I had done. So you know why I'm wearing the cap. Anyway, and by the way, the Robin Report is much more than a daily report. It really is a knowledge platform from which we communicate thought leadership on various strategic topics through the reports, yes, but also these podcasts and webinars and hopefully live events when we get rid of the pandemic. I think it's lifting. Anyway, along with our chief strategist, Shelley Kohan, also a professor at FIT and Syracuse University, we welcome you to our conversation today on the topic of the Metaverse is coming, but when? Well, Shelley, you know, there are so many new words and acronyms and concepts in this tech dizzy world that my head hurts. And the question of when the Metaverse? Well, when Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, is investing heavily in it, I would say the Metaverse is now. It's here. But what is it really? Is it a new reality, or, you know, just a fantasy game? Will it someday be commercial? And how does that look? Will we all just kind of sit in our Barca loungers 24/7 and live our entire lives through a pair of goggles? Anyway, you know, I admit to getting older, and I know I start to sound like my grandfather way back when he used to say things like, we're going to hell in a handbasket, which I never really understood that. But, you know, Shelley, I'm now beginning to sound like him when I say all those young techies are creating crazy stuff that will never have any practical use or purpose. Anyway, Shelley, help me out, please, here before my head explodes.
Well, there is certainly so much to talk about in terms of the metaverse, but let's try to focus on how this relates to our specific industry and specifically what brands and retailers should be thinking about. So we should probably discuss the why behind the metaverse, what it is, the future of the metaverse, and currency, how to buy things in the metaverse. So let me just start with a brief explanation and kind of a fun fact, which is back in August of 2021, so last August, 29% of internet users did not understand what the metaverse was, 29%. Fast forward to today, and get this, Robin, this will set the tone for our podcast today. And if the metaverse is not top of mind already, it will be top of mind after hearing this statistic. 74% of U.S. adults are planning to or thinking about joining the metaverse.
Unbelievable. I could have never guessed that. And that really happened very fast. And I guess Jamie Dimon is no fool.
Yeah, but actually, you know, the metaverse has been around since about 1982. That's hard to believe, I know. But really started with its first video game called Second Life in 2003, which paved the way for others to follow like Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite. But the interest level has grown exponentially in the last literally 6 months, as you said, really fast. So the term metaverse can be tracked back to Neil Stephenson and his dystopian cyberpunk novel Snow Crash. The novel was released in 1992, and metaverse means beyond the universe. So in non-tech terms, and outside the applicable gaming sites, the metaverse is a mixed reality place where people can buy things, participate in activities, visit attractions, and own land.
But Shelley, only in Metaverse world, right? I mean, you can't yet order and pay for something to be delivered. It's simply transactions that stay in that virtual world, right?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of R&D teams right now today that are working on the concept of ordering virtual items in the metaverse and then having delivered them to your physical home. But I haven't seen any yet. And two of the more well-known metaverses, the one that where people can transact and buy things in, are Decentraland and Roblox. So Decentraland, you can actually buy land, wearables for your avatar or character, and live like you do in the real world. So like you can go visit art galleries, shopping, and Robin, you'll love this one. You can participate in activities like golf. So maybe my golf game in the metaverse will be a lot better.
Right, mine too. Oh boy, go ahead.
It's like playing a video game with one caveat. The metaverse doesn't stop when you leave it. So unlike a game like Fortnite, for example, it ends when you leave it and then you sign back in and you pick up the game again. Well, in the metaverse, it's just ongoing. It continues whether you're in it or not in it. And all the land in the metaverse is owned by people. It's not owned by the platform. They sell land to users. Oh, and by the way, there's a great article by Sarah Holbrook, one of our fabulous writers, that outlines the metaverse for the rest of us, which I really thought was great. And I encourage readers to read that article. The name of the article is called Metaverse Reimagines Retail.
Oh, and Shelley, 1 second here. We also had another article by Kate Newland, and she called the whole thing Imagine Land.
I read that. That was good also.
Yeah.
So a common functionality for all fictional metaverses is that the creators or the owners of the metaverse, they can set the rules and make unilateral changes at will. So there's really no regulation.
Yeah, well, it does not surprise me that there's all of this hubbub about the metaverse. It is all that I read about lately, and your point about the non-regulation really does send up some red flags. But I do understand that there are many credible companies entering the metaverse, including brands like Gucci and Hermes. And I keep hearing about more brands kind of quietly entering the metaverse, like Nike, Walmart, Amazon. But it's not so quiet because it's all over the news. It's all over the place. And even in the banking industry, like I said, JP Morgan Chase and also Morgan Stanley, they're making moves to be a part of the metaverse. Chase is the first bank to really set up a metaverse office. And they stated recently that the metaverse is over $1 trillion market opportunity.
Wow.
It's amazing. And keep in mind, the e-commerce business, has been around since the early 90s and is only now just reaching $5 trillion in 3 decades. Morgan Stanley put the future metaverse market value in China at $8 trillion. The same amount Goldman Sachs forecasted for the global market. And I read that many financial analysts predict the metaverse would be a catalyst to accelerate the pace of the cryptocurrency market, making crypto a mainstay and the normalization of the crypto payment process. Cryptocurrency and its viability is another head scratcher for me. I mean, anecdotally, the average price of virtual land, right, in the metaverse doubled from $6,000 to $12,000 over 6 months last year. Volatile and, to me, absolutely nuts.
Wow. Yeah, Robin, right. And the buying of selling land is actually prominent in the metaverse and it's growing. So land sales from the four major decentralized metaverses, including Sandbox, Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, and Sonium Space, have totaled $760 million from November 2020 through December of 2021. And looking at, as we always look at comp sales, the comparison of November, December 21 compared to looking at 2020 to 2022, the land sales were up 85%. So that's tremendous, that comparison there.
Yeah, unbelievable, Shelley. And by the way, here's another kind of fun fact for you. Insider intelligence showed that 97% of U.S. adults have zero interest in investing in cryptocurrencies. I would be among those. Anyway, and we really can't talk about the metaverse without discussing, at least briefly, currencies, because that is what you need to get beyond the free stuff, right? Yeah. And that the stuff that is being offered when one enters the metaverse. So if you want your avatar to have a Gucci handbag or a pair of Nike shoes, you have to buy those products. And crazy as it sounds, companies are making virtual products and at the same time making physical products so you, the person, and you, the avatar, can have the same outfit. I mean, nuts. The concern, of course, and why so many people are apprehensive about spending money in the metaverse is there is no central bank or financial regulation or any central point to set monetary policy. Each metaverse creates their own currencies, and to me, therein lies the ultimate barrier. Walmart, by the way, filed applications seeking trademarks for digital currency and software to manage cryptocurrency and other digital assets, and for online retail services.
Yeah, well, Walmart actually plans to own its own collection of NFTs. And not to get too much into the weeds, but let me just give you a really brief explanation for our listeners on NFTs. So
yeah,
NFT, NFT is non-fungible tokens, which certify ownership of a virtual asset like a piece of digital art or a collectible. So this is already playing an integral role in the metaverse. And since NFTs are stored on blockchain, the cryptocurrencies can be easily integrated with that infrastructure to facilitate transactions and other use cases. So a quick history lesson, very fast, very brief on blockchain technology. I don't know if you recall, but blockchain technology was invented to make Bitcoin, which right. Most people have heard of Bitcoin. That's one of the first cryptocurrencies. So blockchain is like a digital ledger of transactions that is duplicated and distributed across the entire computing network. So blockchain information is very difficult, next to impossible to change or hack. So NFTs and cryptocurrencies both work on blockchain networks, so transactions are compatible. So in other words, you can buy and sell metadata associated with a particular image, just like you would a painting or an actual Hermes Birkin bag. In layman terms, if you had $20 and I had $20, these bills are interchangeable. They're fungible. They're interchangeable. My son collects baseball cards, and they're not fungible because each card has its own unique qualities and which add or subtract value from it. An NFT is not interchangeable. If you had one and I had one, they would not be the same. It would be similar to us like having two different baseball cards with digital IDs attached to it. So an NFT is a unique identifier to a specific digital asset. It's not interchangeable. So here's an illustrative example, which is probably easier for our listeners. And this one's well known. This story's been told a lot, but it is quite fascinating. Gucci had a 2-week virtual event on Roblox. Okay, and just to mention, Roblox has 43 million active daily users. And
Wow.
here's the interesting part. 67% of them are under 16.
Wow.
So Gucci has this event called Gucci Garden Experience, where various handbags are introduced to the metaverse in exclusive capacity, so participants could purchase these bags for their characters. And the items sold using Robux, which is the currency used in Roblox, for under $5. Well, there was this one virtual Gucci handbag called the Bee Embroidered Dionysus bag that originally sold for, if I'm converting the Robux into dollars, okay, it sold for $5.50. It's a virtual Gucci bag, and it has a bumblebee on it. When it hit the metaverse, it was bought, resold, bought, resold, bought, resold, and finally selling at over $4,000. So that was higher than the physical bag would have sold in a physical store.
I'm exhausted. But thank you for clarifying all of that, Shelley. I feel the world is passing me by. But anyway, Robert Dreyfuss, Gucci's executive vice president for brand and customer engagement, I read this. He told the Business of Fashion, "We have proven to ourselves through these collaborations that the virtual world can create a very significant new revenue stream." Well, he, along with, Jamie Dimon and all the other guys. And I know there are many brands, that are entering into the metaverse. Nike's a pioneer in the space in terms of retail. Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Gucci, Vans, Zara, and on and on. So, yes, one very real benefit is that it can be a great marketing technique for many reasons. One, obviously getting the brand out in the metaverse, and even just getting brand recognition in the news from, quote unquote, plans of entering the metaverse. Secondly, and an obvious thing, I think the better reason is that you are reaching the next two generations. So many retailers have spent millions and millions of dollars trying to reach the younger generations, and because they are taking over, and their view of the world is totally different than it has been for all of us. You look at Macy's, who has developed, various contemporary product lines. They've spent millions on store redesign and infusing the shopping journey with technology, all to captivate the young consumers who are just entering the metaverse. The whole Gen Z and Gen Alpha is living there, right?
That's right. Macy's just has to get themselves into that metaverse, and they would capture, the next generation, right?
Yep.
Well, last year, Balenciaga entered the metaverse with its video game runway show, Afterworld, The Age of Tomorrow. And most recently, Balenciaga announced it's launching a new business dedicated entirely to the development of products, projects, and experience designed for the metaverse. So the fact that both my sons, who are Gen Z, know Gucci and Balenciaga is quite amazing.
Yeah, it sure is. Another thing here, according to EarthWeb, the metaverse market was worth $46 billion in 2020, and is predicted to reach as much as $800 billion by 2024. And it will create 10,000 jobs over a 5-year period. The 10,000 jobs are for the creators, designers, the VR software engineers, product managers, 3D game designers, storytellers, hardware engineers, metaverse marketing specialists, and on and on. This is incredible. And top jobs in the metaverse, listen to this, are commanding over $400,000 in salary as a base. It reminds me of kind of the drought of data drought of data scientists back when CRM was introduced, and the amount companies were paying them to work in retail. $10 billion has already been invested in Metaverse by Meta, Facebook's Reality Labs segment. Amazing.
Yeah, and so the Metaverse for retailers and brands, it's not solely about selling products, right? Or creating awareness, brand awareness. But let's think about other use cases. So, for example, using 3D AR capabilities for shoppers to try on products virtually before physically going to a store, or consumers to interact with products in a VR setting that could be combined with the physical store. So let's say you want to go camping and you need to buy a tent. You can, using UR and 3D, you can experience the features of the tent in a virtual world and then pick up the physical tent at a local store, or have it shipped to your house, or have it ordered, neatly packed away in your garage with your camping gear by the retailer, kind of a la Walmart in-home service. Yeah. So, according to Shopify, interactions actually with products featuring 3D or AR content had a 94% higher conversion rate than those without it. So consumers do value the ability to try on real-world goods through AR and to visualize products in 3D, and these features that can be transferred to a more immersive, digital settings. Yeah,
and Shelley, I also understand that Samsung launched an immersive experience on the Metaverse called Decentraland that recreated the brand's high-tech flagship store in New York City's meatpacking district and offered NFTs for sale. So brands are certainly smart to collaborate with the experts in the Metaverse, like Nike, which bought a virtual shoe company that makes NFTs and sneakers for the Metaverse. Get this, another acronym, RTFKT, which is pronounced artifact. There we go with the acronyms again. Drives me crazy. Anyway, the marketing alone of being on the Roblox, in the Roblox Metaverse, will solidify and hold that Nike has on the younger generations. And Shelley, we have not even talked about the advertising opportunity, right?
Right.
In the Metaverse. I have heard and read that advertisers are scrambling to get involved in it, in the Metaverse. Again, it could be a great marketing tool.
Yeah, well, Nike, John Wick, the NFL, among others, advertise to Fortnite users directly in the game. So Fortnite reaches 56 million monthly active users. Keep in mind, Robin, the market for skins, so skins is what the avatars wear, it's called skins, used in video games, was estimated to be worth $40 billion in 2021. So, Fortnite's also focused on music concerts and selling, virtual goods from music tours, like Ariana Grande, who performed her Rift tour online for millions of Fortnite players.
So, why all the hype now? And as you said, during the past 6 months. Well, I do think for retailers and brands, it may be all about, here's another acronym, FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And not being among the first movers. I think maybe a lot of it has to do with that defensive attitude. The marketing aspect of getting your brand out there in this universe or metaverse of the young, engaged generations who are really the future purchasing power of the world. So you don't want to be left behind, the virtual 8-ball, if you will. Aspirational products, luxury brands are a consideration as well. Gen Z or Gen Alpha may not be able to afford a Hermes Birkin bag in the real world, but perhaps their avatar can have one, and then one day, once they enter the workforce in a major way and increase their earnings, they can have their own physical Birkin bag.
Yeah, I think one of the other major benefits of NFTs is that theoretically they're not susceptible to theft or counterfeiting. So in other words, the blockchain NFTs are unique to a specific product. So when you buy the Birkin or the Gucci or the LV product, it's actually a verified product with a unique digital identifier.
Yeah, and the other major advantage is the market opportunity to engage with the future of retail purchasing. Of course, there are the disadvantages also, like lack of standardization, the unpredictability of the metaverse, and of course, the whole issue around currencies. Not to mention, the current awareness of the metaverse is low, with 2/3 of Americans have never heard of the metaverse. This was as of last October, and 41% are not interested in using emerging technologies for shopping.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Robin. To be honest, most people did not need or had any interest in owning an iPhone prior to 2007.
True.
Like in 1903, when most people have not heard of the Model A car from Ford, consumers don't always know what they want or what they need. So anticipating future products solely on being reliant on what customers say or consumers say they want or need.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Shelley. And by the way, was that Model A or did you mean Model T?
I thought know. Model A was the first one, but
oh, well, then you're probably right. It doesn't matter. Anyway, very good point. Like many things coming out of the pandemic, I think the metaverse has accelerated its growth from people being at home and really becoming more comfortable with technology, right? So, the wide access of 5G across the world, and specifically the US market, will also help to grow the metaverse. The computing power required is massive.
Yeah, you're right, Robin. The ability to run some of these metaverses on computers and gaming equipment, you really need to have a powerful computing system. So I anticipate the market growth of, computer market to go up based on the bandwidth required for the metaverse.
Yeah. So, Shelley, what are your key takeaways here from what we've discussed? We covered a lot of stuff.
We did. We covered a lot of information, but I can cull it down to some key takeaways. One, invest and experiment in the metaverse, be agile, keep the iteration process going. Apple's ATT, another acronym for you, app
right.
tracking transparency. When they stopped doing the app tracking on the iPhones, it really pushed a lot of companies to become more innovative. They lost so much of data when the app tracking capabilities, outside their own apps. So invest and experiment in the metaverse. Similar to the internet of the 90s, when so many brands and companies are trying to understand the concept and how to monetize the experience and build deeper loyalty with customers, synergies across platforms, physical, e-com, metaverse, one view of the customer with a unified integration, really understand the limitations and how your brand can experiment. That would be my second big takeaway.
Yeah.
The third, is co-create and co-collaborate. Just like Silicon Valley in the 90s did not understand retailing, retailers of 2022 cannot assume they understand the digital metaverse worlds and how to play in those worlds. So collaborating with the expertise will help build a winning plan. So like Nike and Artifact, for example. The fourth one is, banking's a big concern. So unlike the 90s, when the currency was not an issue in consideration in terms of expanding to the e-com business, the metaverse requires a deep dive knowledge of cryptocurrencies, and retailers are certainly not bankers. So again, get that expertise outside the four walls to help. Number 5 is understand the market, Gen Alpha, how they shop, how their shopping behaviors are different than Gen Z and millennials, and what they value and what is important to them on how they consume goods. And lastly, consider computer bandwidth when developing. Try to stay don't try to stay too far ahead of the market where consumers won't be able to actually apply what you're giving them because they're behind in the ability to consume the data.
Yeah. Shelley, actually, it's a perfect review of takeaways, and thank you for that. And, there was enough learning here, for me particularly, that I am beginning to allow myself some optimism about the incredible and positive chaos, by the way, that we get additions to on almost a daily basis in this brave new world of technology. So thanks again, Shelley.
Oh, it's so much fun. And for our listeners, you can find more of our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and therobinreport.com. And please follow us on social media, link in with us, and follow us on Twitter for the latest thoughts about the industry.
And a last thank you from me for all of you attending. I'm sure you learned a lot. I hope you did. I certainly did. And by the way, I always ask that if any of you have a major topic that you would love to have Shelley and I cover in one of our podcasts, please email me at robin@therobinreport.com. And thanks again.